Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Today, we will be talking about investor income versus CEO salary versus the average worker, and why it is important and to be an investor and why the investor always wins. So let's talk about Coca-Cola. Investor income. Let's compare Warren Buffett's Coca-Cola um, shares and what he earns yearly compared to a CEO and a worker. So Berkshire, which Warren Buffett's the CEO of, it's a company he's been in charge of for many, many, many years, currently owns 400 million shares of Coca-Cola. This means that on an annualized basis, Warren Buffett's company generates $736 million in dividend income from the beverage giant. That is a huge passive income stream that likely explains why Buffett isn't exiting the position, which he's held those for 400 million for a long, long time. So now we'll move on to the CEO salary. Compensation for Coca-Cola's top 5 executives last year ranged from 4.5 million to 24.7 million, which by all means is a lot. It's a lot, but we'll cover later on why it's better to be the investor than the CEO or the worker. So 4.5 million to 24.7 million paid to James Quincy, chairman and CEO officer of the iconic Atlanta-based company, according to the company's annual proxy statement. But remember, guys, this is what I was talking about. So with the CEO and the worker, average worker, their income is their salary income is taxed higher than capital gains tax. So dollar for dollar, the CEO is going to pay more in taxes than Warren Buffett will off of his dividends because capital gains for dollar is in a lower range. So this CEO of Coca-Cola, they'll end up paying probably around 37% unless they do some finagling. But most of the time, he's going to be stuck if he gets that 24.7 million payout, which is by all means is big. Even after they pay taxes, is still a huge um, salary, and I'm not knocking it one by at all, but I'm just saying the investor wins out on this. And then if we go to our average Coca-Cola worker salary, the average Coca-Cola company salary ranges from approximately 40,000 a year for a senior production operator to 178,000 per year for food technologists, which is really, really good, guys. I'm not knocking it. Everybody's got to start somewhere, and people who work hard, that's I praise them all, but this is just for entertainment purposes only, and just to give you an idea of why you want to be the investor. So the average Coca-Cola company hourly pay range is from approximately $10.86 per hour for the brand ambassador to $46.20 per hour for the packaging operator. Still taxed. Remember, this is still taxed as income, which is higher dollar to dollar amount than capital gains. So still the average worker will probably pay more dollar per dollar than you would an investor for capital gains because income is taxed differently than capital gains. So let's move on to Apple. So Warren Buffett's another holder in Apple. He has a massive position. So this massive position provides a financial windfall. Apple pays a dividend that yields a measly, it's like 0.5%. So it's not great, but if you hold a lot, and it's a company that goes up. So I'm not knocking it, but compared to some of the other payouts, that's not a very high yield. So, but moving on. But based on the current quarterly payout of 24 cents a share quarterly, Buffett's firm receives an annualized 879 million from its equity position in the tech giant. So that's on top of what he's getting from Coca-Cola. So that's, guys, just saying that's the investor. And his taxes, he'll still have to pay taxes, but it won't be as much as as moving on to the next thing. So CEO of Apple salary. According to the details, Tim Cook, is the CEO of Apple, was paid non-equity incentive plan compensation to the tune of 10,713,450, while the other compensation totaled 2.5 million. Hence, the Apple CEO's total salary in 2023 stood at just over $63 million, which, guys, I'm not knocking that as fantastic. But you got to remember, this is taxed at a much higher rate than an investor would pay. So typically, Tim Cook would end up paying about 37% of that to taxes because he'd be in the top range, possibly more depending on how things shake out. But that's just a rough estimate. So he'd roughly pay just over $23 million in taxes if I did my math right. That is insane. So compared to what an investor would get. And plus, the investor does not have to get up at a certain time, doesn't have to get up to an alarm clock, isn't stressed from the day-to-day operations. The investor gets to vote on who's in charge of the company. The investor gets to make those decisions on who's running the company, but they don't have to do the day-to-day operation. They don't have to alarm clock. They don't have to be in at 9 o'clock and they can't leave till 5. The investor gets to essentially be free. So that's why I'm saying, guys, the investor, that's why everybody's got to strive. You got to be an investor somewhere. Start somewhere, guys. So moving on, we'll go back to the average worker for Apple salary. I did not know this, but digging into that is quite commendable. This is really, apparently Apple takes care of their people. But anyway, the average Apple salary in the United States is 127,197. Well, and then, guys, that's in the top 5 to 10% salary. So that's fantastic. No matter, even if you're in some of these high cities that cost a lot, like California and Washington D.C., that's still a very commendable, nice income. But Apple salaries range between 83,000 a year in the bottom 10% to 194 in the top 90th percentile for their company. Which, again, I can't stress this enough, is, again, it's entitled to a higher tax bracket than an investor would have to pay for the same exact dollar for dollar. A worker would have to pay more than what Warren Buffett, maybe not the total amount, but just dollar for dollar and percentage wise. So, guys, I can't stress that enough. If you don't have any investments going, please follow my channel, where I will bring you guys more tips, news, breaking news with the stock market, stuff to follow. Please hit that subscribe button, follow along. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll go ahead and talk to you guys on the next one. See you later.